Hello and welcome to Deccan Herald Newsroom. The long-awaited Indo-US trade deal has finally been announced. The announcement has come from the US President Donald Trump on a social media post. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has responded to that. But this announcement has led to a political slugfest here in Delhi. When the parliament is in session, the budget is being discussed, the presidential address is being discussed in both houses of parliament. The opposition has taken up this issue and said that the government has compromised on India's key economic interests.
किसी न किसी कारण नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने कल शाम उस डील को साइन कर दिया। नरेंद्र मोदी जी पर प्रेशर है, भयंकर प्रेशर है।
No, we feel very strongly that there is a need for clarity because all we have is President Trump's tweet and some press statements. We have not seen any of the details of the tweet. President Trump talks about India purchasing $500 billion. Why our entire import bill every year is about $700 billion. How can we spend $500 billion on the US? The question is, where does all this come from? What is it going to be spent on? He mentions that we will purchase American agricultural goods. Apparently, the American Secretary of Agriculture is saying that India's open market is going to be open to American farmers. We need to understand the terms of all of this because obviously there are very significant political implications for India's farmers if this is going to happen.
अब वहां जो एक्सपोर्ट होगा उसके ऊपर तभी टैरिफ होगा 18%। तो वो यहाँ जो माल हम मंगवाएंगे इधर जो उनके एग्रीकल्चर जो वो बेचेंगे यहाँ आकर उसके ऊपर 0 टैरिफ।
100% लगा था टैरिफ, तब कुछ क्यों नहीं बोले? जब 50% था तब कुछ नहीं बोले। उसने अपनी मर्जी से 18 कर दिया तो आवाज़ निकल रही है। उसने कहा कि वेनेजुएला से अब तेल खरीदेगा भारत, रशिया से नहीं खरीदेगा, ईरान से नहीं खरीदेगा, सब इनकी आवाज़ नहीं निकली।
टोटल 39 कंट्रीज के साथ में ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में भारत के साथ हुए हैं। सब डेवलप कंट्रीज हैं, विश्वास करते हैं भारत के साथ पार्टनरशिप में आगे जाना चाहते हैं। तो कांग्रेस ये अच्छा माहौल को खराब करने के लिए क्यों झूठ फैला रहे हैं? ये एग्रीकल्चर और फार्मर का नाम लेकर के भ्रम फैलाने की जरूरत नहीं है।
जब सही मायने में खुश होना चाहिए कि यूएस इंडिया ट्रेड डील एक इतिहास रचने वाले हैं, उन पर भी खुशी मनाने की बजाय विपक्ष प्रश्न चिन्ह खड़ा करता रहा।
भारत दुनिया की एक बड़ी आर्थिक ताकत बन रहा है और दुनिया भारत से जुड़ना चाहती है, दुनिया भारत से आर्थिक रिश्ते बनाना चाहती है।
Later in the evening, Piyush Goyal, the Commerce Minister, held a press conference.
And as soon as the final understanding of the deal is inked and the joint statement is finalized, technical processes are completed, full details will be shared. But I can assure the people of India, I can assure 140 crore brothers and sisters that this is a deal that will make every Indian proud, that will protect the interest of every Indian and provide huge opportunities for all the people of India and will protect the sensitive sectors, the interests of our agriculture and our dairy sectors in full respect, opening up huge opportunities.
So joining me now to discuss various aspects of the Indo-US trade deal announced by President Trump, joining me today is Gyanendra Keshri, our business correspondent here in Delhi, who was listening in very closely to what the minister had to say. Thank you, Gyanendra, for joining us this evening. One key point which everybody wanted to highlight was underscoring and asking was, what are the finer details? Because yesterday President Trump said that the US tariff is going to come down on the Indian goods to 18%. India is going to stop by the Russian oil, but and also that India will reciprocate by having the tariffs on the US goods which it imports to a very low level. I think he said 0, if I'm not wrong, in that particular tweet. So do we have a clarity on what exactly India is offering? What are the final details?
Yeah, so there is clarity only on that US will reduce its tariff to 18%. So President Trump as well as Prime
That's been
Minister Modi
confirmed by
have
both India, Trump and Prime Minister
both
Modi in
leaders
relationship.
have confirmed that 25% reciprocal tariff will come down to 18%. That is confirmed. Now comes what is India offering. India is offering what
So, but one more thing,
President Trump
Gavin, here. But what about the penalty clause, that extra 25% which was introduced?
penalty. There is no official confirmation, but U.S. ambassador here in Delhi, he has confirmed that that the final tariff will be 18%. So it is deemed
Then we
that
presume that that 25% will also go.
yes, but there is no there is no clarity as yet because India has not yet officially announced that it has stopped buying Russian oil. So if it decides to continue purchasing Russian oil, obviously that 25% may or may not stay. So that is a different thing. Now coming to what Trump has announced that India will reduce its tariff to 0%. And he has also given another figure that India will buy $500 billion worth of several products. He has mentioned about energy, agricultural products. India has so far, you have FTA with, say, EU, UK. In none of the deal, India has made any concessions or commitment on agriculture and dairy. So, so far, India has been saying that this agriculture and dairy is out of the negotiation with any trade deal. US has unilaterally said that we are going to sell our agriculture products in India. So
So you are
US
quoting basically the US Agriculture Secretary, that
Yes,
social
US
media post
Agriculture
which he has
Secretary
put
has
out.
said that they will they have got the access. Today, Piyush Goyal, Commerce Minister, who was supposed to make a statement in Parliament, he could not make it there, and then he held a press conference uh, and there he clarified that India will protect the interest of its farmers, its dairy sector, but there is still no clarity whether we are going to allow American products to be sold here. So he has not committed anything that we are how they will protect. That is a different way. Government might come out with some other solution to protect it, but there is no clarity whether India has agreed to buy American agricultural products, and that too at 0%, which has been mentioned by President Trump. And zero, you mean he has mentioned it in capital ZERO. So there is emphasis on that word that we are
But
going to
even
get.
even in President Trump's social media message on Truth Social, when he says zero, he does not specify whether zero is across the board or zero is only on in particular sectors. So it's also not very clear. What don't you think it would be too premature to presume that zero also means zero for agriculture and animal husbandry and dairy products?
That's right. There is no clarity, and in fact, what minister clarified here that details have not been worked out yet. So we can't say, and there is no document to say that whether zero is on what goods or whether agriculture have been included. Minister said that negotiating team of both the countries will work out the details, and there will be documents signed. So I was just speaking unofficially to some of the senior officials in the customs and other departments, and there is actually no details being worked out yet. So this is announcement at the top level. Maybe you have a framework that okay, you have to bring down this 18% is the highlight, and then other things need to be worked out.
Okay, because there's another interesting aspect to this entire deal, because which is the Russian oil, to which the US government has been objecting to, and President Trump has specifically mentioned it on many occasions. So India has also not commented on Mr. President Trump's statement that India has will agreed to stop buying Russian oil. In fact, interestingly, Moscow, the foreign ministry, Kremlin in Moscow, they have responded to this saying that we are yet to hear from the Indian government on buying Russian oil, whether India will continue or not. On those specifics, they are not clear. So I think there's a lot to be still heard on this particular deal. But at the same point in time, yes, this has stirred
Yeah,
up. Uh, yeah,
yeah.
this
India's
political
stand
issue.
here is India's stand is we will buy oil where we are getting a competitive rate.
But at the
If
same point
we
in
get
time, the
the
US trade deal is dependent on, is contingent upon whether India is buying oil or not, isn't it? I mean, they
Yeah,
have put
that's
in.
true. That's practically true. But what they are saying that the decision is taken by the our oil marketing company. So if they are getting, so why I am making this point, they will be guided by the price. So if they are able to get price, say competitive price from Venezuela, which is likely, because globally also the prices are low. Russian oil was very competitive when in the international market the price was close to or even above $100, and Russian oil was available to us for at around 40 $45. So it was competitive. Now the general price is 60, in the range of 60 65. Russian oil is 50. So the margin is not that much. If they are able to get from Venezuela, they can come out with the argument that okay, we are getting a competitive price from Venezuela. You have a similar logistics problem, so and even the payments problem. So they can have a genuine reason to shift from Russia to Venezuela without, say,
But one
political
last
message.
question, Ganjan, before we wrap it up. Uh, why is the Indian farm sector and dairy sector politically and otherwise, this is a very sensitive issue for them? You know, the opening up of or any lowering of tariffs in the agriculture sector and the dairy sector. Why is it such a sensitive issue politically and economically in India?
One is obviously if you get, say, American corn or wheat, so there is chances that it will they may dump their products because every country provides subsidize their farm sector in different ways. It's not the similar way. They might directly subsidize. Some might, they could be giving free electricity. Some of them. So there are different ways to do that. They can, to support their farmers, they can simply dump their products. So the chances are our farmers might get hurt. So it is more a
Think you're saying
political
that
thing.
that if the cost at which they produce these products, if they put it in the Indian market with a lower tariff, then that will make the products of the Indian farmers non-competitive,
And
uncompetitive
not,
as compared in terms of
I
pricing
think
to those.
more than competition is about dumping, the fear of dumping that okay, government can simply dump their product. So that is a major challenge,
So once they
major
dump the
concern.
products, then
And
obviously the markets, I mean, the rates will go down, and
yes,
that's going to
so
hurt the
that is
interest of
going
the
to
farmers and
impact
the
and
producer. Yeah.
our farmers that is going to impact. So that is the fear. I think competition. Obviously, if you want to economic sense, their labor cost is higher. So I think economic sense we can obviously compete. For example, in case of Apple we used to buy Apple from EU. I'm not certain about America, but they were giving this thing. Base price of Apple is 90 rupees. So if the Apple cost is less than 90 rupee, you won't be buying from EU countries. So in India, you can say that our product cost is much lower than 90. If you are that way we are competing. We can compete on economic sense, but it is politically very sensitive because if you start buying from them and Indian say produce is not being consumed, it's more a political thing than the economic, I think.
Okay. Thank you, Gyani. Thank you very much for eking out time in the midst of writing stories for print also. Thanks much. That's all we have in today's edition of
Yeah,
Deccan
thank
Herald
you.
Newsroom. And
Thank
we'll
you.
see you again with the next edition probably later this week because lots happening in Parliament. So keep watching. Thanks.